Hey guys, welcome to Realistic Crypto. A few days ago, I posted an article on Medium about a liquidation bot that I've been using for the last three and a half months that's been making me some steady gains. Now, the beauty of this bot is that I've not had to touch it. Um, I've left it to run in the background and I check in on it every now and again. Um, but it's not something that I'd class as highly risky. It's something that I've had to intervene on one deal. However, um, during that time, that was in the early days of setting up the bot, so I probably had less confidence in the settings, and I wanted to kind of be close to it. Um, the bot's completed over 950 deals so far, and there's one that I've had to intervene in. So not a bad result really. Now, in terms of those percentage gains, we're looking around the 38% mark. I started with around $610 for testing purposes, and now we're somewhere at the $850 mark. So, you know, a nice steady increase on that capital. I think it's also fair to point out that when I set this bot up, I didn't do any compounding. Now, what I'll do is I'll leave a link to the Medium article in the description below, so you can go and have a read of that. It's only a 3-minute read, but it does break down some of the bot statistics, how many deals have hit certain DCAs, etc. So yeah, I'll leave that in the description if you want to check that out. Now, this bot runs on Wick Hunter. I've left a link to Wick Hunter in the description below as well. Now, when I look at this account, this is the account that I've been using. As you can see, a steady up curve in the profits, which is good. We'll also take a quick look at open deals just to make sure, for transparency reasons, that I'm not telling you I've made this profit, but in actual fact, I've got a substantial drawdown in a number of positions. There are no positions open right now. Now, one of the other really useful things around this bot is the hold times are substantially low because we're looking for volatility in the market. Typically, these trades close very, very quickly. We'll take a look at some of those settings in a minute as well. Now, if you've not seen the P&L reporting screen in Wick Hunter before, you can scroll down, you can see some of these trades. So for example, there's a trade here that was an hour. There's one here that was just short of 10 hours. There's some in here that are 15 minutes, 18 minutes, 10 seconds. Like the hold time varies. But, when we look at the average overall hold time, in most cases, it's very low. Now, we do have some outliers. Those are deals that have been open for a substantial period of time. You'll see in a minute when I run through my settings that having one deal open for a substantial amount of time doesn't concern me too much. I'll show you why in a minute. So let's head over and look at the settings. Before we do that, if you want to build one of these DCA liquidation entry bots, you want to head over to create bot and you want to choose this option here. When you hit this create button, that will give you the screen that we'll go into in a minute when I go to edit my bot. Now, if I go over to view bots, because obviously I've already got one created, there's a couple of account level settings, and I think these are important to take note of. So what you want to do is you want to base these settings on what your account size is, and you want to do it based on the amount of capital that you're going to be putting into these positions. So, for example, I only allow max open positions of 3. So when I said earlier, I might have one deal that runs for a month. I'm not too concerned because there's 2 others that are running whilst that one's stuck in an open deal. I'll talk about what I do with those deals that are open for that have hit the last DCA that are open for a period of time. I'll talk about that in this video as well. So max open positions is 3. As you can see, there's 3 longs, 5 shorts. These don't really matter because the overarching rule is there's no more than 3. So I ignore these 2. We also have an isolation percent of 20. So the idea of this is if you've used 20% of margin in your account compared to your total balance, it won't open another position regardless of the number of max open positions that you want to use here, which is actually a really useful safety feature, as I've found on multiple occasions in other bots that I've built on Wick Hunter. So heading down to the liquidation bot. So this is the bot that I'm running. You can see it's enabled. If I go in here and edit it, this is the screen that you would see if you were to create a bot. Now, I do want to point out that, again, these are the settings that I'm using. These are the settings that I've used for the last 3 months. I may change these settings, but if you choose to replicate these settings, you are doing this at your own risk. I'm not responsible for any losses that you may incur as a result of running this bot. So I just want to make that absolutely clear. I'm sharing what's working for me. So when we look at this, you can see the side is sell. So I'm only taking short deals. I'm not taking longs. The symbols that I'm using is pretty much all of them apart from Bitcoin and Ethereum. The reason for that is they move far slower than most of those other pairs, and therefore I don't want to be in a BTC deal for 3 weeks when I can run the same deal in some of the lower market cap coins quicker. So there is a thought process around that. Now, there are probably some other pairs in that list that I should probably consider taking out as well, but these are the settings as they are today. Now, the entry is the advanced optimized liquidation. Now, what happens is in the background, based on these settings, Wick Hunter, the platform itself, will optimize some of these settings based on each of those pairs and the volatility in each of those pairs. So we'll talk about that in a little bit more detail as we go through. Currently, my entry order size is %. You can set this statically by using a dollar amount, and I'm using leverage type cross 10x. Now, in terms of the advanced optimized settings, the long values I'm ignoring because I'm not running this bot. Long, it's only short. Now, the short VWAP risk level is 2. The call out here says that 1 is the most conservative, whilst 3 is the most extreme. So I'm using in the middle. Now, the minimum short VWAP, this is a % deviation. And we can look at that very quickly if we take a look at a chart. As you can see on here, let's just find a short. What we're saying is we want price to cross above the 1.5% deviation of the VWAP. So if we take the VWAP, we pull that up, it's around, it is 1.5%. Obviously my skills here are probably not perfect, but as you can see here, we got this huge candle. Say huge, 10% candle in 1 minute is a decent price move. At this point, we'd have entered a short. Assuming, so there's 2 conditions to this, assuming that that there was a sizable liquidation. We'll look at that in a minute, but that's the theory behind it. If I set this to 2%, you'd see the band being higher and the lower band obviously being lower as well. But that's the theory behind this. So then we look at the liquidation size decile. So what we're looking at here is out of all of the liquidations, right, I only want to enter a position if it's in the top 30%. I don't want to enter a position when it's in the lower 70%, right? I don't want to open a deal if there's a liquidation of, say, $1 versus $75, because obviously there's far more volatility happening when there's larger liquidations in the market. So that's also an important aspect to the two conditions, both the VWAP and the liquidation size. Now, when I look at the VWAP time frame, I've currently got this configured at 1 minute on the 5 period. That means that it's looking at the last 5 candles, and it's optimizing this based on 3 look back days. The source that I'm using for my liquidation data is Binance. I'm using Binance Liquidity in this bot, but there's options there of Bybit and OKX as well. Minimum volume, just put low and high. I just put low and high amounts in there. I'm not using that as a filter to filter out my deals. In terms of dollar cost averaging, so I have 3 orders set. All 3 of those are placed on the exchange at the time that the deal opens. For obvious reasons, if we see one of these large wicks, I want to take advantage of that quickly. I don't want to miss filling an order because the order wasn't placed on the exchange. And again, we're using a percentage of the capital. So currently 4.6%. Obviously at 10x cross, that's 0.46% of the capital that's available in the account. I'm using a static percent for DCA. So the first safety order will fill at 5%, and then using a step scale of 2. So the first one will be 5, the second one will be 15, the third one will be 35%. And every time I'm doubling the volume of this safety order size. And we can look at an example of that in a minute. In terms of multiple take profits, so I'm taking 50% at 0.5% and 50% at 0.7%. And I'm not using any stop loss. Now, if we just try and visualize what those orders look like, and we'll start with BTC. If we were to take an entry order here, now what you would see is, you'd see here are the DCAs. There's no further DCAs above that. And those 2 red lines are the take profit level. So that was if we were to enter a deal right now at this entry, that's how it would look. So those are the settings that I'm using. Let's go take a quick look at the liquidation events, because as I mentioned, Wick Hunter optimizes these values, the VWAP value and the liquidation size. So you'll see in here that each one of these is dynamic. You'll see that the short VWAP is currently 1.5% for most. But if you look at some of these, based on the volatility in the market, the minimum VWAP is 1.5, but the optimized value based on its volatility over, based on its current volatility, is 4.31%. So we won't enter a deal unless price moves 4.31% to the upside, and there's a liquidation of over $317. Now, what you can do is you can look in the account stream. This is where all of the data comes in around liquidations that have happened, and in effect, you can see whether the conditions have been met. So in this instance, the VWAP is at 0.15%. The configured VWAP is 1.5, so it'll filter out that entry. Equally, you'll see liquidation size. So the liquidation was $263. If we were to head back into the optimized liquidation values, you'll see that the liquidation size for that would have been larger. So that's why it's not entered that deal. What you can do is you can head over to signal logs, and this will tell you when a deal is triggered. Obviously, if this position's already open, it won't open additional positions. But if you've got these blank empty notes, this means that a position has been opened. And I guess that's it. I mean, the bot to set up is relatively simple. What I would suggest is that you, if you decide to use a liquidation bot, is start with a small amount of capital, money that you're prepared to lose, because again, whilst I say that I'm running this conservatively, there is substantial risk involved. You can get your account liquidated. So, my suggestion on this is start with a small amount. As you gain confidence over time, and as you really get a feel for the settings, you can start to increase the risk, but also, consider pulling out your profits as well. If it does go the opposite direction and you do get liquidated, at least if you've taken out the initial capital, then it's all house money. Now, I guess the other thing to quickly mention is lots of people use these bots. If you head over to Wick Hunter's Discord, there's lots of information in there around what people have tried, what people haven't tried, what their results look like. There's lots and lots of information out there. So I'll leave a link to the Wick Hunter Discord in the description below. And also, if you do want to head over to the Realistic Crypto Discord, I'll leave a link to that in the description below as well. But with that said, that's everything from me. So hopefully you found this useful. But yeah, thank you.